Hello, guys, and welcome to this week's episode of the Limitless Landscapers Podcast. I'm Paula, the Landscapers Coach and your host, and today I'm talking about team. Um, the real reason they're not performing and why it may not even be them. So, if you have got team issues, looking to build a team, or just love the show, let's go to this episode. Welcome to the Limitless Landscapers Podcast, the podcast for owner-led landscaping businesses who want more profit, more control, and ultimately less stress. I'm Paula Warman, the Landscapers Coach, and after scaling a landscaping business to a team of 15, winning 38 industry awards, closing it when overheads became unsustainable, and rebuilding lean and profitable, I've learned this. Turnover doesn't build freedom. Profit, systems, and smart decisions do. And that's exactly what we talk about here on the Limitless Landscapers Podcast, where limitless isn't larger, it's sustainability. Hello, guys, and welcome to this week's episode of the Limitless Landscapers Podcast. How are you? Did you have a great Easter? Ours was very busy. My daughter had a potentially fractured elbow, so was in plaster for half of it. Thankfully, it's not fractured or broken, just a very overcautious A&E doctor. So we are back to normal, back to football and back to normal life, because I'm not going to lie, it was a difficult week, particularly when everything revolved around doing things that she wasn't able to do. So I hope you had a better Easter holiday than me. This week it's kind of moving on from numbers, profit, systems, chaos. And the next pressure point in many businesses, but a huge issue, I feel, in the landscaping industry and landscaping businesses, and that is always your team and your staff. I mean, we all know that trying to find good staff is really hard. I'm very well aware that there appears to be a skills shortage, and there has been for a while now. But I'm here to talk about the performance of your team. Most landscaping businesses owners think, and I have in the past, is that my team just isn't really good enough. You might begin to think, I need better staff, I need more qualified staff, more experienced staff. But in reality, sometimes team performance is usually a leadership and a systems issue, not necessarily the people issue that you think it might be. And you've got where you are probably at right now is you've got work coming in. You might even, since listening to recent podcast episodes, got on top of your pricing, your costings, your profits. You potentially have started looking at systems and putting systems in place, but things still are not running right. So I want to kind of address why your team may not be performing as you think, and maybe that, there's another way to look at it. Because I've run a landscaping business for 15 years. As you well know, it's well documented throughout this podcast. We scaled. We experienced really bad hires. I was thinking about it the other day. I actually had a member of staff when I had to basically sack him. He actually threatened me on site, and another member of the team had to step in. That was probably one of my worst hires. I've seen many performance issues. In fact, performance issues led to the closure of my old landscaping business, in all fairness, and poor management of that. So my leadership and management skills as well. And I've had to rebuild a very, very lean, very, very small team now in the existing business. And at many points during these 15 years of running a landscaping business, there have been points where I thought there are problems with the team. But when I'm looking back on it, I kind of get to realize that sometimes it wasn't them. Sometimes it was. I'm not going to lie. There are always going to be those people that you cannot help in any way, and you cannot manage them in any other way. But a lot of it comes down to how the business was set up. you have lots of frustrations when you're running a business anyway, let alone a landscaping business. And why I keep going on about why our business is different, I think this is a key element of why I tend to work with just landscapers, designers, and maintenance guys, because I understand our business isn't the same as every other business out there. There's lots of frustrations around the skills gap. There's lots of frustrations around how labor intensive it is. So it's not right for everybody. And of course, there's the fluctuating seasons as well and workload that comes along with that. If we have a sudden wet weather spell, you may not have work, which means you may not get paid depending on what kind of contract you're on. It just comes with its own liabilities, if you like. You might have some frustrations around the team always asking constant questions. My husband used to suffer with this, so he would be running a team and he'd have other teams with team leaders. His phone would constantly be going off with the team leaders asking him questions constantly, which would then impact him getting his own job done to time and to budget, because he's dealing with all the other teams and their constant barrage of questions. The other thing we used to experience, and you probably have as well, is jobs not done how you expect. So you either have to kind of manage expectations, your own and theirs, or you need to train them to fulfill the jobs to your expectations, and high quality standards. You may have experienced having to redo the work. I certainly have. Not myself. Obviously, I am back end in the office overseeing. I am not there doing the work, but my husband has certainly had to rip up work and redo it, or ask the team to redo it when it's not done as should be. And sometimes you may even feel like it's easier if you just did it yourself and sacked off every member of your team. However, the truth is that poor performance can usually come from a number of things. I touched on it just a minute ago. Clear expectations. If you are not giving clear expectations and guidance to your team, how on earth do you expect them to follow it? There may be no systems. There wasn't any systems in my business for a good 12, 13 years. It was only the last couple of years that I started introducing official systems in place. And, they may not have had any performance appraisals. They may not be used to performance appraisals. They may not be used to even having regular meetings with you or you assessing their work on site. But that could be a system you introduce. There's no accountability. So they do something wrong and it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect them. It only affects you as the business owner. And there's no feedback. You may have become or put yourself into a situation completely unawares or unconscious of this, that you become their friend. Now, this happens all the time. When you have a small team, you work with them every day, you become friends. That manager/boss kind of line becomes a bit blurred. So you feel bad giving them feedback. Or in my husband's case, he used to feel scared to give feedback in case they left, and he was left with a whole ton of work to do and no staff to do it. So that's kind of the truth of where poor performance can come from. And where also can go wrong is when you hire way too quickly. I always say hire slow, fire fast, because you need to take your time in hiring the right person for your business. But if you know they are wrong, you need to get rid of them just as quickly, because the longer they're there, the more the rot will set in, so to speak. Perhaps you haven't defined their roles. In normal jobs, you get a job description. You have a manager sit with you, talk through your role. The expectations are set out. The role is defined. You have that as part of your contract. In landscaping, this doesn't generally happen. So they're often not clear, or you may, as you grow your business, you're promoting from within and you haven't had that clear set that this is now your role. You are moving up to team leader, for instance. So your role is with more responsibility. You are now responsible for X, Y, and Z, and you are defining their roles. That often does not happen. There never is any onboarding. I mean, very rare. Very rarely do you onboard your staff. It's a weird thing to call it, but there's no sitting down going through systems and processes and what's expected in the role, what's the day-to-day. They generally come in and they get on with the job. So this is where things can fall down as well. and there being no structure around the jobs. You may not have even got to the point where you're utilizing project management tools. You may not be even meeting them on site to go through the job, or you may not even be giving them job specifications to work from. So all of this can create poor performance within your team. So what you can start doing is, instead of asking yourself, why aren't they better? Why aren't they doing the job? Why are they so rubbish? Why are they just doing everything wrong all the time? Maybe you could ask yourself, have you made it clear? Have you clearly defined what your expectations are, what good looks like, how much work you expect out of them in a day, how long you expect the job to be done in, how many days should it be done in, what you expect of them from a like team leader role, if that's what they're in. What are they responsible for? What are their responsibilities? How do you expect them to tidy up at the end of the day? How do you expect them to leave a site looking? How do you expect them to leave the van looking when they get in and out? I mean, these are just basic stuff, but you need to tell them what good looks like so they can hit those expectations. And then if they don't, that's when the conversations happen, and you must go through that kind of a performance appraisal approach. There are some simple fixes. So, this is not about how to hire team. This episode is just about how to get the best out of them. So how to help them perform better. And things that I did in my business were, I did introduce a staff handbook and any accompanying sort of job roles that I had. So for instance, when we had apprentices, they had their apprentice contract with their details of what they would be doing, who they would be responsible to, who was responsible for them, what their job role looked like. They would have a staff handbook that went with that. That's a really good starting point, just to make sure that everyone knows what is expected of them as they begin working for you and your company. The other thing is to have regular team meetings. I can't emphasize this enough, that communication is really key to a great team. One of my clients, Matt, he's got this down on point, actually. He has regular team meetings. When we first started working together, we didn't, and the team was one of the big issues in his business and the kind of sticker to growing. Whereas now the team is working very optimally. He has regular team meetings with them. He regularly does single appraisals with them. He sets them clear tasks and what they need to do, and shows them their expectations in every job. And he also runs a project management software alongside that to help, make sure they're on target and on plan for every job they're doing. You need to set clear expectations. And I would suggest, not just for their job role as a whole in the business and for you, but per project. So how long is the project going to take? How long do you expect them to be on site for every day? How do you want the site to look? How much should they get done? How long will the paving take? How long will the soft landscaping take? How long X, Y, and Z? You really need to set everything out as clearly as possible. And I know sometimes you feel like you're teaching them to suck eggs, so to speak, but that's not always the case. Define and set clear expectations for them to be able to meet, and also show them what you expect a good job to look like. So, not all landscapers are created the same. We all know this. So some projects, some landscapers will have a real good eye for detail, some won't. So you need to manage that as well. Have those regular check-ins. Like I said, regular team meetings. I don't just mean when you remember. And we used to do this all the time. We used to set a team meeting date, and then work would overrun. So we'd cancel the team meeting, but then expect the team to perform at their best when we're not having regular team meetings with them. So I would suggest every week as a minimum. At the start and at the end of the week would be ideal, so that you can set them up for success at the beginning, and also close off the week with an expectation of what's to be done next week. Also, this helps you keep on top of your project, make sure nothing's running over, and if it is, nip that in the bud as quickly as possible, and just have those check-ins with them. like I said about regular appraisals as well, we used to do it every year, then I changed it to every 6 months. And it's just basically an 20-minute, half an hour check-in with that person, but making sure you document everything, because should something come back and bite you on the arse, like an employee leaving and there's a bit of animosity, you need clear documentation that you've had these meetings with them. If you've had to bring something up that's bad, you need to document that. Also, on the flip side, if you're giving them training as well and you're trying to push them forward in their role, document that and then book it all in. Just regular check-ins and keeping those communication lines open is the key to having a really good team, and a team that you then get to trust, and build on and help them perform at their best. And finally, you need to make sure systems are in place. Like I said about onboarding, just having that, what happens when they join? What's the process for them? Who do they contact? What if they have an issue on the job? What if they have an issue with a team member? You need to make sure they know the processes and the communication that you expect from them. And also, if you have any kind of tech like clocking in sheets, timesheets, and also if they're having vans and stuff, what's the system with that? How does that work? You just need to start thinking about your business in a systems mindset as well, which will then generally help you build and manage a really great team. In my experience, when you fix the structure and expectations around the team, performance will improve very quickly. You then reduce the need to replace anyone, reduce the problems that you get, and ideally start building a very, very trusted team that continue to work when you're not there, which is obviously the key to all of this. We all want to have a business that can run without us so we can have a break when we need to. So that's all I've got to say on this, the team performance side of things. If you need help, like with anything to do with team performance, or maybe you're looking to hire your first team member, I do have a checklist for that. If you want to email me, hire Paula at thelandscaperscoach.co.uk, do that. Also, book a free call. You can book a call in with me. I can discuss how I can help your business and what you are looking for help with, and we can make a plan to work together if we suit each other. So just drop me an email, Paula at thelandscaperscoach.co.uk, right, cool. And like I say, if you want the free hire checklist, just send an email with hire in the subject line. And so my final closing line to leave with you today, about performance and team, is most teams aren't underperforming. They're generally under-led. And that's it for this week's episode of the Limitless Landscapers podcast. Let me know if you have any questions. Follow on all of the social, subscribe, whatever you need to do on YouTube would be great. And I will see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks again.